And so then without further ado, with that out of the way, I'm excited to introduce Josh Woods with an introduction produced today by GPT. Josh's leadership as a senior growth manager at LGT represents more than 25 years of marketing and design experience. His knowledge of key domains such as marketing strategy, content marketing, brand management, and social media marketing, as well as project management and big data marketing analytics, ensures that LGT's campaigns are both innovative and timely. In addition to his 2 decades of service in the U.S. Air Force Reserve and his previous tenure on the board of the Texas Healthcare Advisory Council, Josh utilizes his extensive leadership experience to drive public relations and brand narratives that resonate, enhancing LGT's position within the industry. I'm really happy to introduce my very friend, Josh Woods.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lucas. I appreciate that intro. It's hard to believe I've been doing this for that long. I guess my hair kind of tells the story here. But what a great song to start this presentation, right? Isn't it like marketers to have a walk-up song? You know, we're all the creatives. We like to, spice it up just a little bit for our webinars, but I'm very excited about being here today. I know it was about a year ago when I came on and introduced all of our audience here on the new ChatGPT that launched back in November of 2022, and got some great responses and feedback from that. So it was an idea of ours to go ahead and let's do another one this year. Let's see where we are in the world of Gen AI, and let's do some hands-on type prompting so everybody can see, how this can be used for them. I was actually watching a recent webinar a couple of weeks ago, and Jason States, if nobody is following him on LinkedIn or YouTube, please do. He's a CPA who talks about the latest in accounting processes and technology. He was on this webinar and he said, it's AI's iPhone moment. And isn't that so true? When you think back to, what was it, 2005 or 2007, when the iPhone came out, there was just this influx of developers and software writers, coders that were just generating, new apps and things that was made for the iPhone. And the same goes right now with the AI. In the year and a half since it was introduced to the public sector, it has just blown up, and it has this rapid movement, and all these type of things that are some of the things we're going to talk about during, this webinar today. I was pulling up some stats, and we're going to get into some stats a little bit later, but this was very, very interesting that 93% of employers anticipate using Gen AI to automate their tasks and, improve their creativity and support increased learning within the next 5 years. So if you're not aware of ChatGPT or generative AI, good news. We're going to talk a little bit about it here. I'm going to show you some, examples so you can get a little familiar and maybe bring it into your own work as well. So today I think what we're going to do is we're going to touch on a few items. We're going to touch on decoding. What is generative AI? I'm going to talk a little bit about where we are from the legislation standpoint of AI. Again, I'm going to show you some current stats as of July, and maybe a few case studies. But really, the biggest thing that I'm very excited about is showing you how to use this software, whether it's ChatGPT or something else. So let's go ahead and just dive on in and start talking about decoding generative AI. So what we're going to talk about with this is I just want to give you a quick overview of what generative AI is, what is it, who's using it, and where it's going. Last week I actually attended a construction webinar for an association, and the guy got up there and was talking about AI and accounting for construction. And during his presentation, he touched on what was called the 3 A's of AI. That's assisted, automate, and augment. But what we're going to talk about today is the assisted part of AI, which is generative AI. This is the most, basic of, well, I wouldn't say basic. It's pretty intuitive if you think about it, the software behind it. But it takes basic inputs from the user and is able to generate those likely outcomes in the end. Now, it could be as basic as you want. It could be as comprehensive as you want. I think, there's so many opportunities to get anything and everything out of generative AI. So I guess we probably already know a little bit about the backstory about generative AI. It's been out there, I think, for a year and a half. Unless you've been living in a cave or under a rock, you could probably, throw a pen at any news article, and it's probably something to do with AI. But literally, like, for some of those, who don't really know what is it, I would say imagine this as a digital assistant, that can basically write marketing copy, generate data analysis, design logos, even compose personalized emails. I think there's so many and of course it can do so much more than that, but from a basic, standpoint, I think that kind of sums it up right there. And, a lot of people say that this might be, replacing the human creativity. I disagree with that. I think it's actually going to amplify it. I think it's another way of getting our ideas. If you've ever imagined you're sitting on a beach somewhere, or somewhere you're in an airport and you've got these great ideas that just come up in your head and you're just like, but I don't really know how to do that. Well, now we have the opportunity to put those ideas into a system and allow it to spit back some outcomes that might help us take that next step, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of applications that are out there. Today, I'm going to show you a few of those through ChatGPT, and then, of course, Google's Gemini, formerly Bard. And I'm sure you probably all saw the Olympic ads if you were watching Olympics this year of Google's Gemini. Was, I think, every other commercial that was out there. But also Facebook is also getting into the mix. They've introduced their Meta AI, and then Apple here pretty soon is going to be introducing theirs pretty soon as well. That is going to be integrated with all of their Apple products. So let's talk about who is using this. So generative AI, it's just not that, buzzword anymore. I think it's actually going to become the verb that we use, similar to how we use Google. Today, when you need to find something out, what do you say? Well, let's Google it. I think, going forward, as more of this is being done, hey, go ChatGPT it. I know I use that phrase all the time with my folks in the office. I say GTS it. If you can't, find it from there, maybe we can talk about it. So I just think that this is just, the new fad that's going to be out there. Tons of companies are using it from, top level to bottom, to smaller companies. In fact, I was talking to a company just last week. I was at a conference, and we were talking a little bit about AI and how they were integrating it within their firm. And they really dove deep into the AI, from generative AI to automated AI, integrating their data analysis, all of the different softwares that they use, everything talking to itself. But they also, what they did, and a lot of companies are doing now, is instead of relying on ChatGPT, they're creating their own generative AI. There are a lot of technology companies out there that can do this for you. So if you need to find those out, or if you need some help finding some of those out, give me a call. I have done a little bit of research on that. But they're starting their own generative AI that is internal to their company. So it's pulling the information from their own internal systems and software. So it generates for their employees the best outcomes and the safest outcomes behind their firewalls instead of with ChatGPT being an open source, and so it's just going to be out there for ChatGPT to learn from, um, and hopefully not cause any heartache if you're using any client data. Um, all right, so let's go to where is it going? So the future of generative AI, I think honestly, it has endless possibilities. I tried to look through a lot of articles and research on where generative AI was going, and honestly, I think it's gonna be our everyday. We're already seeing it. You're seeing a lot of software developers that are out there creating these, attachments or um, um, things that can go within ChatGPT to help you find the right, I guess, input that you're trying to do. You're starting to see it in a lot of your software as well, like Microsoft Copilot. Copilot is out there. It's literally going to be put within every single piece of their software to be used. If you know this, Microsoft was one of the biggest investors at the very beginning of OpenAI when they started back in November of 2022. I think they gave them several $billions. So of course they're going to use their software for Microsoft products. We're starting to, you're going to start to see that rolling through, I think, on a regular basis within Microsoft. We also use a CRM here at the firm that was also an early adopter of ChatGPT and used their software to create their own little chat GPT within the software. Helps us out because we can kind of utilize that instead of actually going to ChatGPT or Google Gemini to find those answers. It's all within that own software. But I also think it's going to be integrated with a lot of the machinery type stuff, the procedures type things that a lot of businesses, use. You think about this like an architect. I think an architect's going to be able to create 3D building structures, within minutes instead of it just taking it, maybe hours upon end. Those are some of the kind of cool things that are coming from it. If anybody ever remembers Minority Report, the movie, and if there was a part in Minority Report where Tom Cruise gets off the train and he's passing by all these stores and they're going, hey, come in and buy our stuff, personalized type things. I think some of that's going to happen. It's crazy to think that came out 20 years ago and we're starting to see it today. All right. So but with the software, I do believe that there needs to be some sort of restraint or safeguards behind it. Because like I said before, ChatGPT is an open source software. So anything you put in it, it's going to store so it can learn because it is what's called a large language model. So, it's learning from all the inputs that come in. And in fact, I just saw something that said that there are 10 million inputs into ChatGPT on a daily basis. So it is learning from all those inputs and trying to come up with the best outcomes, right? But I think for a lot of us who are, in the business world, you know, there's some concern behind that. There's risk behind that. And I think that there needs to be some safeguards and some, some sort of legislation that's out there that helps us kind of contain that a little bit. I know that when I was looking through that there are a lot of the big companies, OpenAI, Google, Apple, no, I believe Facebook was involved, are all getting together into a group and are trying to come up with what does that look like? What are those safeguards look like? And how can we implement those, within our own software? And slowly but surely, they're starting to kind of show their face when you go onto their software and see that there are disclaimers that come up when you try to input something. There are two, I know, legislations that are out there right now. The European Union is pretty much on the, you know, I think they had this type of legislation, for the world with their GDPR. They also set up a thing within there that their AI, an AI Act, to where it is starting to monitor and safeguard behind some of the AI software that comes out. The other one is the California Consumer Privacy Act. They are also adding an addendum to theirs that is AI, I guess, integrated with the AI information. So that way, if there's any personal information from a consumer standpoint, that those things are identified.
So,
Um,
Josh,
yeah, go
not
ahead.
to interrupt you, but just wouldn't you say though that even on a smaller scale, companies that allow the use of AI, maybe ChatGPT or other generative AI platforms, should also consider having some sort of policy that governs the use of that even at the company specific level?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is one of the things that was talked about last year is, all the
Mm,
businesses kind of jumping on that,
yeah.
making sure that they protect their business, because with ChatGPT, anybody can go in and set up an account, right? It may not be a business account that they're using. It's their own personal account, and they may be using it for business, purposes. So I think making sure that you have an AI policy within your company that protects you. I think getting with your legal team or your lawyer, to write those things out, that protection, I think is ideal. Absolutely. And there's a ton of examples that are out there. And if somebody is looking for one, I'm more than happy to help with that. And provide an example of an AI policy they can use. But yes, absolutely. Safeguard your stuff, safeguard your business, safeguard your people, and making sure that they have um, a game plan of how to use it if you are going to use it.
Absolutely. Okay.
Um, Going back to Facebook has actually started to utilize some of this in their software. So like I did this a couple of days ago just to kind of give everybody an example. But if you look when you're doing a post through Facebook, it has on, AI identified or AI content. So if you're going to use their Meta AI to write your post, it's going to put up here that it was generated by AI. Um, I'm going to throw this question out to everybody here, but I am curious how you feel about it. Do you feel like, every content that goes out should be identified if you're going to use ChatGPT? Um, my assumption is I believe that this is going to become a regular. And I think that if you are going to use it, it will. I think we all might be required to add a disclaimer or watermark on our materials that we put out. So I do think that might come, but I don't know. Uh, Again, future regulations. I just mentioned the EU doing the AI Act, which is going to classify those AI systems based on risk level. They're going to be imposing some stricter requirements on certain applications, especially when it comes to like social scoring systems. If you don't know what that is, that's systems that assign like scores to individuals and businesses. And they're going to be really looking at those pretty harsh. U.S., I mean, federal legislation is, it's always being debated. I think there was a bill that was tried to go through back in April that hasn't gone through yet. But I do heard and read that there are some states are incorporating some sort of protection with AI on the local level. So really, I would say the biggest takeaways from this section is, making sure that if you are using, AI or AI systems, within your company, do regular audits, making sure that you are staying in compliance with whatever legislation that's out there. Stay informed about what's upcoming, making sure that you have things in place, that will accept some of those compliance and that you stay in legally in compliance. Again, like we talked about, like with Lucas's question about AI policies, absolutely make sure that you have some sort of AI policy within your company if you're going to be using it. And I also want to take it a step forward, further in talking about, I think we also need to be looking at ethics, committees, internally as well. We want to make sure that we are using it, correctly, ethically, and making sure that we are, if we are going to use it, that the information that we provide is unbiased as well. All right. Hopefully there's no more questions there, Lucas. I didn't know if you had one more or not.
Oh, you're good. I'm waiting for the demos.
Everybody's waiting for the demos. All right. I promise everybody we're going to get to it here in just 1 second. We did save probably the last 20, 25 minutes for us to sit there and go through that stuff. It's going to be really cool. But I just wanted to throw some current stats that I found back in July that are pretty staggering, honestly, of where AI is going and why every one of us, I think, should at least start looking into it and start incorporating it, within our business if you already have. There was a stat that came through that the global AI market is expected to reach $1.8 trillion by 2030 based on AI. In fact, I think Goldman Sachs estimates that Gen AI is going to potentially improve productivity growth by 1.5% and raise the global GDP by $7 trillion over the next 10 years. So that's a lot of money based off of this brand new software that's out there. The next one I found was that the banking industry actually could increase, or there are things out there that say it will increase by $340 million just as a result of generative AI. Staff using AI to report an 80% improvement in productivity due to generative AI. There was a case study that I read at I think it's the Pentagon Federal Credit Union, started utilizing the generative AI and AI automated processes within their bank and really started to see, I think they saw like a 20% increase in loan applications just based off of, implementing that type of, software into their systems. And in fact, it also improved the customer satisfaction by 30% as well, which is pretty staggering. Another one was Moderna also tried to implement, the generative AI within the company and to really try to help them, with their, I believe it was like their drug targeting or drug discovery. And they just saw a massive increase or I guess a decrease in the productivity that it took to generate some of that discovery, where it would have taken days and weeks. Now it's just taking hours. Let's see here. Next one is 75% of young tech professionals between the ages of 18 and 25 adopted AI tools last year. I just want to kind of pause on this for a second and tell a little bit of a story. I was actually talking to my wife, who is an educator. She is a teacher. And, they are starting to implement this generative AI at the high school level. They all use what's called I think it's called Educator AI. And so they're being taught in high school this new software and how to properly use it and when to use it. So if let's say you are an employer and you're looking at hiring this new generation that is coming up, I just want you to be aware they're being taught this stuff right now. And if they're a senior in high school, you give them 4 or 5 years, they're going to be on the workforce, if they, by that time. So next 4 to 5 years, if you don't have something set up or you're not utilizing, they're going to probably be expecting it. Because that's what they're using right now or being taught to be used right now.
Josh, I'm willing to bet that anybody on here who has high school or college age kids, those kids know how to use AI to generate a term paper.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the flip side
You have
of
a
it, right?
college age son.
Huh?
You have a
Oh, I
college age
know.
son.
I know, and he's already told me he's used it. But they all do. They're all gonna try and find a way to get through, their next term paper. But they do. The good thing about this educator AI, they have built-in software that can detect whether it was AI generated. Now, as these AI, as ChatGPT and Google start to get better at it, at humanizing the talk and the language that it's spitting out. It is going to get tougher and tougher for these folks to really figure out if that is AI generated or not. I don't know if it's going to have to be. I think that goes back to our AI watermarking. We're basically tagging. If you are going to copy and paste something from AI, that's tagged, so there's a code behind it. That can be detected at that point. I definitely feel like AI, I think should be our instinct of using it rather than just an afterthought and last resort. Or I guess we do use it as an afterthought these days, but I think eventually it's going to be more of an instinct for us to just jump in, just like we do with Google, right?
Yeah.
I got to find something out. I'm going to Google it. So I think it's just going to be innate in our everyday life. 250 million users of AI tools around the world right now. They're looking at probably about 700 million by 2030. That's incredible. That amount. I think, like we all know, it was one of the fastest, growing softwares when it, hit the market back in November. I think it had like 100 million users within like a few months, which is incredible. This was really great, and I wanted to add this in that CFOs are actually focused on implementing AI workflow initiatives as because 83%, and I'm sure some folks on here can agree, say they're too busy to do more than their regular daily responsibilities. The flip side of this one is I saw that 44% of those though noted a workflow automation skills gap among their teams. So we are starting to see that, yeah, we want to implement these things, but do we have the team? Do we have the experience and the knowledge on our team to build out that automation workflow to help us for the future? Or do we need to now look at outsourcing that to maybe an IT technology company? Really, really cool stuff there. IBM actually, Global AI Adoption Index found that 60% of businesses using AI are not working to develop ethical AI policies. I wanted to bring that into play because that goes back to our legislative updates, right? I do believe that we should not only within our AI policy, we should be also making sure that there is an ethics policy that correlates with our AI as well. So that way we know that we are using it correctly, our employees are using it correctly. And it protects our business in the end, right? All right. I know that was a lot. And, I tried to go through it as quick as possible so we could get to the more exciting things. I know Lucas and I were talking about this just yesterday. He was like, oh, we got to do a lot of prompting. And, I think they're going to like to see these prompts, the prompting that you come up with. And I was like, absolutely. I can rush through the first part. Let's get to the fun stuff. Um, So when I was trying to look through, okay, and really understanding who's on here, hopefully some business executives, some owners, some C-level folks, and really just anybody. What are some of the top time consuming, tasks that hit us every single day? I know a lot of us can name a few. Tons of emails, right? Trying to get through all of our emails. The administrative. So these were a few of the top. I think it was like the five time-consuming tasks. Administrative tasks. So those repetitive tasks, like we're preparing your documents, answering emails, um, distractions, social media, phone checking. Maybe it's unclear goals. Maybe it's not having a clear plan. How do I create that clear plan? And meetings. Oh my gosh. If it's like me, it's meeting upon meeting every single week. And how can we reduce some of those meetings, or possibly have those meetings, but have a summary of that meeting uh, within minutes, or actually within seconds of having the meeting. So you can store that for later, making sure that those tasks are being done that come out of that meeting. So I'm going to pause for right now because I'm going to switch screens so we can go over to ChatGPT. So give me 1 second here, just switch gears.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted still. So I think it's going to be important though to see, we talk a lot about the repetitive tasks. Like, for example, email is one of mine
Oh,
where I
absolutely.
have, I'm constantly tied to my email, and I send a lot of emails that are repetitive. So if we can use maybe Chat GPT to construct those, or automate that process in a way that saves me the time. I mean, that's the kind of practical application that I'll be looking for. But there are so many possibilities to use this aside from just in
Hmm.
business. I mean, I know some of the examples, Josh, that you're going to go through are related to how things can be easier and more streamlined on our personal lives too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's very easy for us to let me just click share here.
Yep.
Because does everybody see this okay? Lucas,
Yep.
can you see that? Okay, cool. I'm gonna try and see if I can't get it to increase in size here a little bit um, for everybody. But you're absolutely right. These are great ideas when it comes to our business, but I think a lot of us, what we don't see is how does it improve our personal lives as well? And how can we utilize it in our personal lives? And what are some ways that you can do that? So so when I was trying to pull together some examples, one of the things I wanted to showcase was, okay, how can I provide use ChatGPT for, let's say, out of office emails? My email responses. If anybody is following Lucas, he has the most wonderful out of office responses that are very fun and very insightful when you get those. But let's just say I'm um, just need to get an auto response, but I don't really want it to just say, "Hey, I'm out on vacation. Talk to this person. See you later." I do see some of those that come back, but you can use ChatGPT just to kind of fill in some of those holes that maybe you want it to be a little bit more professional. Um, I'm going to actually, instead of typing these things in here, I've actually already pre-typed some of this, so I'm going to copy and paste um, just because of time. So when you're using ChatGPT, there's several different ways that you can do it. There's a free version, there is a paid version. What I'm showing you today is the paid version. It is $20 a month. I think it's very, very reasonable to have the paid version because you can do a lot more prompting in the paid other than the free. Um, and I believe you get to use the latest ChatGPT model that's out there as well, which is Omni, I believe now. So the same goes with Google Gemini. They also have a free and paid version. I also went ahead and did the paid version for the Google for several different reasons, but it does give you better responses if you do the paid. My humble opinion. So let's say you're trying to do an out of office. Give me a professional out of office email that lets people know I'll be at a leadership conference until August 31st. I want to tell them I will respond to them when I get back and reach out to Lucas until I return. Very simple, basic input here. I'm not giving a whole lot of detail, just a few line items. You can get more detail. In fact, highly suggest when you're using this platform to give as much information as you can without either giving away any proprietary information or client data. So let's just start with there and let's see what it can kind of spit out. So right there, let's see. In 5 seconds, it just spit out my out of office response. Very nice. Thank you for your email. I'm currently attending blah, blah, blah. And during this time, I will have limited, access to email. So I've already got it right there. So now I can copy this thing, paste it into my Outlook out of office and move along. But let's just say, okay, you know what? I want you to provide me something that has a little humor. Give me something that has, maybe some stats or just some humor to it. Because, depending on your personality, you might need that to be added to. So this was provide me some information. I'm going on a vacation to Bahamas. This right there in 5 seconds, spit out, thanks for reaching out. I'm currently out of office in the Bahamas until August 1st, soaking in the sun, sipping on pina coladas. Oh, that sounds so good right now. And trying my best to remember what work even is. Um, so you can see right here, just from basic inputs of, doing an out of office, how quickly it can just spit that information back to you. Now, when you're doing anything through ChatGPT or Gemini, keep in mind that some of this information may be inaccurate, and can make mistakes. It even says it at the very, very bottom. ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info. So when you're going to take any content or take any information that comes out of here, do a thorough review. I think, spending, probably, 5-10 minutes with it just to make sure, one, that the information is correct. And I think two, also making sure that it sounds like you.
Yes.
I think it's a more important, well, along with the inaccuracy, I think that's important too. But I think making sure that it has your tone of voice and it sounds like you going out. Because if, a lot of people, they can tell if you generate something AI and or that it sounds AI and is sent to them that it's not you. Um,
I think,
you know,
Josh, I think those are the two really key important points. Anytime, well, ChatGPT is smart for what it does. We really, anything that we use for chat with ChatGPT, we consider that to be our intern draft,
mhm.
the most fundamental draft. And then, like you said, it needs to be tailored to the voice of your company or your own personal voice, because if it's going to represent you out, that's something that's outward facing, you want to make sure that it's accurate and that it really represents what you would truly say. All right, now, to be
Absolutely.
fair, the pina colada out of office, all right, I would truly say that. But some of the other stuff, like it's pretty detectable that it's AI generated.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I see it all the time, in some of the sales emails that come through, the marketing emails. I think it's important that you understand not only, if you are a leader of a business, you have a tone of voice. I think as a business itself, you also have a tone of voice, and making sure that your materials, when anybody is looking at it, understands that it's coming from you or your business, and they understand that instead of something that doesn't necessarily sound like you. Now, there are ways in ChatGPT, and we're going to go through one of those here in just a second because it's going to take a little bit of time. But there is a way in ChatGPT to really hone in on your brand, your brand voice, your tone of voice, based on things that you've written. And we'll kind of go through that here in a second. I just want to touch on a few items here. If you are in the business world, we all know that we have clients, we all have customers that we have to deal with, and sometimes they may not be happy customers. And so you may be having to sit behind the desk or, with an email trying to explain something or have to respond to a complaint. And you might have a writer's block, or you might need to go, Yeah, I wrote this. It may not be the right tone that I want to send back to an angry customer. Um, and that's okay. I think that's where ChatGPT can kind of come in to help you. One of the things that I put in here is, act as a customer service professional, provide me a response to a complaint about how bad of a haircut I got, right? I didn't want to use, right? I know I'm playing with the fact that I have no hair. Um, but this gives you an idea like, hey, I need to really come up with something, but I need it to sound gracious and have an empathetic tone, include any verbiage about a return policy. Let's say that. Okay. I'm going to put that in there. Let's see what ChatGPT can do. There we go. Again, within 5-10 seconds, boom, I have already an email that is sounding more empathetic, that is a little bit more gracious, and more understanding, more apologetic to the complaint that came through. Now I can, like, again, I can take a look at this, review it, change any of the words, make sure the tone sounds good, and copy and paste into my Outlook. So just a couple of different little things that I think on a day-to-day basis from when you're dealing with emails or you're dealing with content, I think can save a lot of time and a lot of effort. If you're like me, sometimes I have that writer's block, and I will stare at a screen for far too long, and then now I've just wasted probably 30-40 minutes of my time.
It's hard to schedule creativity. But Josh, just really quickly, since you're on this screen, say for example, you
Mhm.
didn't like this version. Can
Yeah,
you tell it to just, can you, like, I see the thumbs up and the thumbs down and the regeneration. Say you didn't like this version, could you
Mhm.
tell it this is not what I wanted and then regenerate and see another version of it?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's several ways that you can do that. If you hover over some of these icons here, you can have it read it to you, copy it. You can regenerate. Let's say, this isn't really what I want it to be. If I click on regenerate, yep, it's going to now do it again. It's going to give me a different, context, content, that I can take back and read again. But, I'm going to take it a step further. I can also say, no, this is a bad response. It does ask you, was this better, worse, or same? So you can answer those things because it's helping itself learn how to provide the right output back to you. But I can come back in here and say, and you can talk to it like a human. It does do better when you do say please and thank yous. I have learned and have heard. So I can say thanks for that, but it's not really hitting the right tone. Can you please try again? And right there, you can see that it's already generating a new one. And now I'm happy I can copy and now I can paste it. All right. I'm gonna talk a little bit about this one because I'm gonna skip over it just due to time. I want to make sure that we've got time for some of the other ones, and it's really some of the more fun things that you can actually use it for. Um, from a productivity standpoint, it's really great to use if you're trying to come up with some smart goals for your company. You can do that directly into here. And I'm going to provide a lot of these prompts for everybody on here. So afterwards, you can just use these and copy and paste into your own chat GPT. Um, but if you're trying to find smart goals for a certain, thing or service or process within your business, you can do that directly in here. Just give it as much information as you can. Paste as many goals that come with that smart goal that you're trying to establish, as much as possible, so it can now go in and give you the right response to how specific those goals need to be, how measurable those goals need to be, how you can achieve them, are they relevant and time binding. So yeah, like I said before, the more information you provide, the better output you get. So if you're just going to go in and say, write me a blog about cats, well, it's going to give you a blog about cats. But it may not be exactly what you were looking for. Maybe you're trying to go, okay, I want to write, you know, a blog about gray and black cats, or maybe it's, you know, Siamese cats. I don't know, a different type of cat. Um, so you can see how the more specific you can get to your prompting, the better. And it's really great within here is that you can feed it more information as you're building through. So like I said, blog, about a cat. Now my next thing is like, that's not exactly what I would need. I need blah, 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 blah. I need this. I need additional information added. Now it's going to spit it out until you get to a point where you're happy with the information that it gives you. Real quick, I want to go through this one where we are going to talk about prompt linking, like what I just kind of talked about. And this is a really great example here. So I went in here and I went ahead and put some of these prompts together so you don't have to sit there and watch me type, because it takes me forever because I have to delete all the time. I'm saying I want you to act as a copywriter. I would like for you to review the below articles and learn the tone and writing style for future prompts. So I started a new chat, and I'm going to use this chat as it learns my writing style from what I'm telling it here. So anything that I input from there, now it knows, it has that memory that's updated of your particular writing style. Now you can send in links. You can actually even, you can see down here, there's attach a file. So let's say you don't even have it as a article already written. Maybe it's an email. Maybe you have a string of emails and you're like, okay, I'm going to take all these emails, I'm going to PDF them, and I'm going to upload them here so it can see how I write in my emails. So now it's understanding how your writing style is and what your tone is. So I told it to pull a few of my articles that I've written because I want it to learn my writing style. I'm going to go here. Let me actually go back in here and copy this because I actually did it wrong. See? It already spits out. I can't do that. You need to give it to me better. So now it's searching the web. Now it's recognizing how I write. And now I can, continue on with my prompting. So let's just say, yeah, I would like to use this style to produce another blog that's discussing the importance of brand awareness campaigns for small businesses. Trying to promote, let's say, IT services focused on the manufacturing industry. I would like this to have a strong SEO headline along with section subheads for clarity. And then please provide this article in 800 words or less. So immediately it's already given me an article. It's incredible how quickly this thing can spit out information for you.
So
again,
Josh, just also to, this is writing. So also just to clarify, like for example, if you had an article that was just in a PDF form, you could attach that article here and say, read this article and summarize it for me and give me the top 5 or 6 points that come out of this article, correct? So
yes,
I wouldn't
absolutely.
even necessarily have to read the article myself, especially if it was a longer article.
Yeah.
I could ask ChatGPT to read it for me and then summarize the key points that I need to know.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, I actually had that as one of the prompts here as well. We won't have time to get to it, but yes, absolutely. As leaders, we sometimes get bombarded with, hey, read this. Hey, this is a great article. This is a great, PDF to read. but we just don't have time to kind of get around to it. Now you can go use ChatGPT and attach that file and say, summarize this article for me and give me the top 3 takeaways that I can use. And it will spit it out to you in seconds and go, okay, now I know what this article is about. Now I can move on. Okay, so I've got a blog article here. I'm again, I just want to continue forward and build out what is, going to be essentially my marketing, campaign for this type of service, right? So now I'm going to tell it, okay, I want you to now make, social posts promoting that. So now it's giving me all the information I need to promote on social. Okay, great, awesome. Now I would like for you to take that information and I want you to generate me a couple of images through what's called DALL-E. DALL-E is also an open AI program that it uses the ChatGPT to generate artwork or imagery, for you. So again, there you go. It's already provided me an image based off of my article, the article that it wrote, and I asked it to write right there. And I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, that's good. I'm happy with that. So now I've already got an image to use. And you can do that for every one of your posts too. Like you can sit there and say, okay, I need you to provide me 3 different, images. It just, there is kind of no limit, to be honest with you. So, I'm going to take this even a step further. Now I want you to go ahead and provide me an email campaign, for that. I know I'm running out of time, but I really want to show one more thing here. Boom, it's already spitting me out what my email is going to look like. I'm like, great, wonderful. And then, maybe after this, I want it to now give me a presentation outline. I'm going to present on this at a webinar next week. It can also now provide you that. And then you can also ask it to provide you a script as well to use. Okay. Real quick, I know we're running out of time. I do have 2 things I wanted to show you really quick that are pretty fun. Let's take it to the personal side. Let's say at home, you're like, hey, I just got home from a long day of work and I need to make dinner. I have no idea what to make. I've got all of a smattering of ingredients in my house, but and I've had this done. This is actually me personally saying that I've done this before. I have no idea what to make with what I have. I'm not a chef. I'm not a culinary artist, and I need ChatGPT to kind of help me do that for me. So let's say I jump in and say, I've got these things at home. I've got milk, eggs, cheddar cheese, chicken, white rice, apples, brown sugar, barbecue sauce, and spices. Give me some ideas that I can make in 30 minutes or less because I have small kids and I've got to, we don't have a whole lot of time when they get home to make dinner. So I'm going to put that in there and right immediately it's already given me 3, honestly, really great ideas along with the ingredients and the instructions on how to put it together. Just that easy. And so quick. It's pretty cool. That is really cool. All right, last one, and then we're gonna I'll try and open it up for a little bit of Q&A. This one is really, really cool. We talked about the article, right? I'm gonna hop back over, if everybody can see, I'm in Gemini now. Okay. I'm gonna hop in here real quick, and let me go back up here where my thing is. There it is. Let's say you've registered for a webinar or you got a video about something from somebody, the link to it, a YouTube link. It's an hour long. You're like, oh my gosh, now I've got to schedule an hour of my time to watch this webinar. Maybe you don't have that time. I just want to get a summary and maybe some takeaways that I can get out of it without having to schedule myself for an hour, right? So I wrote this really quick prompt here. It's super quick. It's just saying basically, oops, hang on. Let's do this. Let's paste. Let's go in here. Let me copy that again. So sorry. There we go. I want you to review a video link I will provide and give me a quick summary and the top 5 takeaways I can present to my team in the next meeting. Right? So now it's going to ask me, okay, great. Give me the URL of that YouTube video. All right, yeah, I got it right here. I'm going to copy it in. I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to send it over. So now Gemini is going into YouTube and it is literally watching in seconds that whole video and spitting out a summary. So this was actually a webinar that we had last month. So if you didn't join us, it was the tax webinar that John and Yolanda put together. It was fantastic. And within seconds, it has given me a summary of what that was about. So I can read this real quick. And it's also given me my top 5 takeaways from that video within seconds. Saved me an hour.
That's really amazing. Like,
yeah.
I'm amazed at how quickly that can download all that data and then give you the talking points or the highlights from an hour-long presentation in 10 seconds, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Absolutely. It's so amazing. So you can see from, by utilizing, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this. So you can see, through utilizing this, there's so many ways that it can help with our productivity, our daily lives, things that we're working on, emails that we need to generate, writer's block, summarizing things to help us, get on with the things that matter instead of the things that may suck up a lot of our time.
We have a next event on September 18th. So be sure to register for that webinar as well. And Josh, thanks again. This was really, really great. We appreciate your time and effort putting this together.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Everybody else, thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch you next time. Bye.